rain came sideways across the mountains, turning the Arizona territory into a maze of mud and shadow. Cole Morgan stood on his cabin porch, the Winchester Model 1873 heavy against his shoulder, its brass fittings gleaming despite the dim light. Two bodies lay sprawled in the mud 20 paces out, blood washing away in rivulets. "Shoulda known better than to hunt a hunter," Cole muttered, ejecting the spent 4440 shell casings with practiced efficiency. The third man, gut shot and dying, clutched at Cole's boot as he approached. "More coming. Bishop wants your head. Says you're worth the price." Thunder rolled across the valley as the light faded from the man's eyes. Cole dragged the bodies away from his cabin, muscles burning with the effort. No sense drawing scavengers closer than necessary. The year was 1878, and civilization felt 1,000 miles away from this remote corner of the wilderness. Cole had come to these mountains to forget, or perhaps to be forgotten. Either way, solitude had served him well until now. Inside, Cole moved with the precision of a man who'd spent years honing his survival instincts. He hung the Winchester on wooden pegs beside the door, then stoked life into the banked coals. As flames caught the kindling, light spilled across the cabin's single room. A narrow bed occupied one corner, a rough-hewn table another. Shelves lined the walls, holding the necessities of a solitary life. Ammunition sorted by caliber, preserved food, medical supplies, and a few dog-eared books on military history. On the table sat his most prized possession, a small tin case containing a daguerreotype of a woman holding an infant. Hannah and Thomas, his wife and son, 5 years gone from typhoid. Cole rarely looked at the image these days, but knowing it was there provided whatever comfort he allowed himself. The knock came just after midnight, 3 deliberate strikes against weathered wood. Cole was instantly alert, the book forgotten on the floor beside him. Years of military training had taught him caution, and 2 years of solitude had only reinforced the lesson. He positioned himself to the side of the doorframe, rifle ready. "Who goes there?" Silence answered, broken only by the drumming of rain on the roof, then barely audible. "Help us, please." A woman's voice, the accent suggesting education despite the evident fear. Cole hesitated only briefly before sliding back the heavy wooden bar. He opened the door a cautious few inches, rifle still at the ready. 4 women stood on his porch, drenched and shivering, their dark eyes reflecting lamplight like trapped animals. Apache women dressed in what had once been a fine calico dresses, now torn and muddied beyond recognition. The tallest stood slightly ahead of the others, her posture suggesting protection rather than precedence. A thin scar ran across her chin, silver white against copper skin. "Inside," he said, stepping back from the doorway. They moved past him with the silent grace characteristic of Apache. Despite their evident exhaustion, the scent of rain, pine, and bloodwash filled the cabin as Cole secured the door behind them. "My name is Cole Morgan," he said, setting the Winchester aside, but within easy reach. The woman straightened her spine, a gesture of dignity despite her bedraggled appearance. When she spoke, her English was flawless, each word precisely formed. "I am Rachel of the Chiricahua Apache. These are my sisters, Diana, Lisa, and Emma." She indicated each with a slight gesture. "Emma's injured. We've been traveling 3 days through the mountains." Cole glanced at the youngest sister, noting the pallor beneath her copper skin, the slight sway in her stance. Infection, most likely. "Let me see her arm," he said, moving toward his medical supplies. Rachel stepped between them, her body language shifting to something distinctly protective. "First, we must discuss payment," she said, her voice hollow. "We have nothing of value except ourselves. We came to offer our bodies in exchange for shelter and protection." The statement landed like a physical blow. Cole stopped mid-stride, his expression hardening. That won't be necessary, he said, his voice rough from disuse. You misunderstand, Rachel continued, her dark eyes never leaving his face. We are being hunted. The men following us will kill you for interfering with their property. They consider us merchandise. Property. Merchandise. The words ignited something in Cole's chest, a long-suppressed anger. Outside, the storm intensified, wind howling around the cabin's corners. But beneath it, Cole's trained ear caught another sound. Horses approaching. How many men follow you? Cole asked, already moving toward his ammunition box. 5 riders, led by a man named Randall Bishop. The name struck Cole like a physical blow. Bishop, he repeated, memories flooding back with terrible clarity. Any relation to Colonel Hammond? Rachel's eyes widened slightly, the only indication of her surprise. Hammond is his benefactor, she said. How do you know these men? Cole didn't answer immediately. Instead, he loaded his Winchester with practiced efficiency, then checked the Colt single-action Army revolver from his bedside drawer, making sure all 6 chambers were loaded with 45 long Colt rounds. We have history, Cole finally said, turning back to Rachel. None of it good. Understanding dawned in Rachel's eyes, followed by a flicker of recognition. You were cavalry. 2 years ago, you refused an order. Cole's jaw tightened. Fort Bowie, I was lieutenant then. Hammond ordered the slaughter of an Apache village, said it was harboring hostiles. He worked the lever of his rifle. There were no warriors, just women, children, elders. The Black Mountain Massacre, Diana whispered, speaking for the first time. My husband died there. They shot him while he carried a white flag of truce. The sound of horses stopped outside the cabin. Cole gestured for silence, positioning himself beside the window. Through a crack in the shutters, he counted 5 mounted men, their features hard in the stormy night. Quick, he whispered, lifting a worn rug to reveal a trapdoor. Root cellar. Stay silent, no matter what you hear. The women descended quickly as Cole replaced the rug, then positioned himself centrally in the cabin, the Winchester visible but not aimed. When the knock came, it wasn't tentative like the women's had been, but the authoritative pounding of someone accustomed to doors opening at his command. Randall Bishop stood on the porch, tall and imposing in his cavalry-style coat. His blonde hair was cut military short, and his cold blue eyes assessed Cole with calculated interest. A well-maintained Remington revolver hung low on his hip. Mind if we come in? Bishop asked when Cole opened the door, a false smile spreading across his face. Cold out here in the rain. It wasn't a request. Cole stepped aside, mentally calculating angles and distances. 5 against 1, terrible odds, especially in the confined space of the cabin. The men filed in, spreading out instinctively, experienced men establishing tactical positions. Bishop remained in the center, examining the cabin with casual interest. Nice place, he remarked. Remote. Quiet man could disappear out here. Cole said nothing, watching as one of the men wandered toward the table, glancing at the daguerreotype. Pretty woman, the man commented. Your wife? She's dead, Cole replied flatly. What do you want, Bishop? Bishop ignored the question, moving slowly around the perimeter of the room. He paused near the fireplace, studying the recently disturbed rug covering the root cellar entrance. You know, he said conversationally, these Apache women are valuable property. Cost me nearly $400 in bribes and ammunition to acquire them. Cole's jaw clenched, but he kept his expression neutral. If someone was here, they're gone now. Storm like this, they could be anywhere. Bishop continued his circuit of the room, stopping at Cole's shelf of medical supplies. He picked up a roll of bandages Cole had recently used. Fresh blood, he observed, turning the bandage toward the light. Someone injured passed through here, Mr. Morgan, Cole supplied, his options rapidly diminishing. Cole Morgan. Recognition flickered in Bishop's eyes, followed by a slow, predatory smile. Morgan, former Lieutenant Cole Morgan of the 6th Cavalry at Fort Bowie. The atmosphere in the cabin shifted perceptibly, the other men straightening, hands drifting toward weapons. Ancient history, Cole said, his voice deliberately casual. Is it? Bishop moved closer, studying Cole with new interest. Because I heard about you, the officer who refused orders during a raid on an Apache village. Cost some of your men their lives because you went soft on savages. From beneath the floorboards came the sound of someone coughing. Weak, wet, unmistakable. Emma. Bishop's eyes lit with triumph. Well, well, he said softly. What do we have here? One of Bishop's men was already moving toward the sound, grinning. Pull up those boards, Bishop ordered. Before the man could comply, Rachel surged up through the trap door, slashing with Cole's hunting knife that she'd hidden beneath the bed. The blade caught the nearest man across the throat, opening a crimson gash. Cole moved in the same instant, fast and decisive. His first shot took a second man square in the chest, dropping him instantly. His next caught another in the throat before the others could react. What followed was chaos. Gunfire erupted in the confined space, deafening and disorienting. Cole rolled behind the table as it splintered under a barrage of bullets. He came up firing, his third shot catching Bishop in the shoulder, spinning him toward the door. Kill him! Bishop screamed, clutching his wound as he staggered outside. The last remaining man charged Cole from the side. He dropped his empty rifle and drew his Colt, firing twice into the man's chest at point-blank range. The heavy .45 caliber slugs knocked the attacker backward, dead before he hit the floor. Outside hoofbeats receded into the storm. Bishop fleeing. Diana and Lisa emerged from the cellar, Emma supported between them. Rachel stood over the body of the man she'd killed, knife still clutched in her bloody hand. Bishop escaped, Cole said, reloading his revolver. Rachel nodded once, her expression grim. He'll be back, with more men. Cole moved to the window, watching the darkness where Bishop had disappeared. 2 years ago, he'd only prevented a massacre. This time, he might actually save someone. We need to move, he said, turning back to the women. Bishop won't stop hunting you, or me now. Rachel met his gaze. Something unspoken passing between them. Recognition of a shared burden, perhaps, or the weight of decisions that couldn't be undone. Where will we go? She asked. Cole checked his wound, painful but not fatal, then began gathering supplies with his good arm. North, he replied, through Apache territory. They won't follow us there. Diana's expression hardened. That land has earned its name, Death Ground. Even our people avoid it now. Exactly why Bishop won't follow, Cole said, strapping on his gun belt. We'll head for Salvation. Small town, 3 days' ride. There's a doctor there who might help Emma. Rachel studied him, clearly weighing his words against her own knowledge. Finally, she nodded. We leave at first light. Cole shook his head. We leave now. Bishop knows where I live. Next time, he'll bring enough men to make sure I don't walk away. They emerged into the night, the rain reduced to a gentle patter. 4 horses waited, Cole's Appaloosa, and the 3 mounts the women had stolen during their escape. They rode north as the storm clouds parted, revealing a sky brilliant with stars. Cole led, his Winchester across his saddle, every sense alert for danger. The women followed in single file, Rachel bringing up the rear, watchful and wary. As they crested a rise that gave them one last view of Cole's cabin, Rachel pulled alongside him. You're risking everything for strangers, she said quietly. Cole's gaze remained fixed on the horizon, but his voice carried clearly in the night air. Some debts can't be paid by hiding in the mountains. They rode into darkness, leaving behind a life of solitude and 4 dead men as witness to the price of redemption. Dawn found them deep in Death Ground, a twisted landscape of red rock formations and sparse vegetation. They'd ridden through the night, stopping only to rest the horses and tend to Emma, whose condition worsened hourly. "She needs medicine," Rachel said, pressing a damp cloth to her sister's forehead. "The infection spreads." Cole studied the terrain, calculating distances and risks. "There's Mormon tea that grows in these parts. Might slow the fever until we reach the doctor." "I know this plant," Lisa spoke up, her quiet voice surprising them. "I can find it. My grandmother was a healer." Cole nodded. "We'll make camp here. Diana, help me set up shelter. Rachel, stay with Emma. Lisa, find what you can." They worked with the efficiency of people accustomed to survival. By mid-morning, a crude shelter protected Emma from the sun. The horses were watered from a small seep Cole had located, and Lisa had returned with a bundle of jointed green stems. "Make a tea for her to drink," Lisa instructed, "and a poultice for the wound." As they tended to Emma, Cole kept watch from a nearby ridge, scanning for any sign of pursuit. The morning passed without incident, but Cole's instincts warned him that Bishop would not give up easily, not with his reputation and business at stake. His suspicion proved correct when, shortly after noon, Diana spotted dust on the horizon. Riders, at least 8, following their trail with grim determination. "They found us faster than I expected," Cole said, joining the others at their makeshift camp. "We need to move." Rachel shook her head. "Emma can't ride. The fever has taken too much strength." Cole studied the approaching dust cloud, then the surrounding terrain. A plan formed. Desperate, but with a slim chance of success. "There's a box canyon 2 miles east," he said, pointing. "Narrow entrance, high walls. Good place for an ambush." Understanding dawned in Rachel's eyes. "You want to trap them?" Cole nodded. "Diana and I will hold them there. Rachel, you and Lisa get Emma to Salvation. Find Dr. Nathan Hammond." "Hammond?" Rachel's voice sharpened. "Relation to the colonel?" "His brother. Different man entirely. He helps Apache when he can." Rachel's expression remained skeptical, but she nodded. "If you don't return?" "Then keep riding north," Cole replied, checking his ammunition. "There are settlements in Colorado where people don't care what color your skin is, long as you work hard." Diana, who had been silent, stepped forward. "I'm a better shot than you," she said to Cole, her tone matter-of-fact. "My husband taught me. I can hit a running deer at 300 yards with this Sharps rifle." Cole assessed her, noting the steady hands and unflinching gaze. "Good. We'll need every advantage." They worked quickly, preparing for the coming confrontation. Cole gave Lisa his spare revolver, showed Rachel the best route to Salvation, and made sure Emma was secured to her horse. As the dust cloud grew closer, the sisters embraced, a silent farewell that might be their last. "Keep to the shadows," Cole told Rachel. "If you hear shooting, don't turn back." Rachel held his gaze for a long moment. "Don't die for us, Cole Morgan. We have seen enough death." With that, she led the horses away, Lisa and Emma following like shadows among the rocks. Cole and Diana rode in the opposite direction, toward the box canyon that would become their battlefield. They reached the canyon with time to spare, positioning themselves on high ground overlooking the narrow entrance. Cole with his Winchester, Diana with the Sharps rifle taken from one of Bishop's dead men. "Pick your targets carefully," Cole advised, setting up a small pile of extra cartridges within easy reach. "Officers first, then anyone who looks like they know what they're doing." Diana loaded her rifle with methodical precision. "I will kill the man who led the raid on my village," she said quietly. "I have waited 2 years for this moment." Before Cole could respond, the riders appeared. Bishop at the front, his arm in a crude sling, flanked by 7 hard-faced men. They paused at the canyon entrance, clearly suspicious of the obvious tracks leading inside. "They're not fools," Cole muttered. "We need to draw them in." Diana nodded, then to Cole's surprise, stood up and shouted in Apache, her voice echoing off the canyon walls. Immediately, Bishop and his men looked up, reaching for weapons. "What did you say?" Cole asked, raising his rifle. Diana's smile was cold as winter. "I told them they killed women and children like cowards, and now they will die like dogs." Bishop's men opened fire, bullets ricocheting off stone around them. Cole and Diana responded in kind, their first shots finding targets with deadly accuracy. Two riders fell immediately. A third clutched his leg and tumbled from his saddle. "Into the canyon!" Bishop shouted, spurring his horse forward. His remaining men followed, seeking shelter among the boulders strewn across the canyon floor. What followed was a deadly game of patience. Cole and Diana held their position, firing only when a target presented itself. Their height advantage and Diana's exceptional marksmanship gradually tipped the odds in their favor. By late afternoon, only Bishop and two others remained, pinned down and running low on ammunition. "We need to finish this," Cole said, checking his own dwindling supply of cartridges. Diana nodded, her face streaked with sweat and gunpowder. "I will circle around, come up behind them." "Too dangerous," Cole objected. "I did not survive the massacre to die in fear," she replied, already moving. "Keep them busy." Cole provided covering fire as Diana disappeared among the rocks. Minutes stretched into an eternity as he waited, conserving his ammunition while keeping Bishop's group pinned down. Then it happened. A scream from behind Bishop's position, followed by two rapid gunshots. Diana had found her mark. Bishop, panicked now, broke cover and ran for his horse. Cole took careful aim, exhaled slowly, and squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed through the canyon as Bishop collapsed, clutching his thigh. Silence fell, broken only by Bishop's cursing. Cole descended cautiously, rifle ready, to find Diana standing over the bodies of Bishop's last two men. Her expression was unreadable, but her hands were steady. "Is it finished?" she asked. Cole approached Bishop, who lay against a boulder, blood soaking his trousers. The slaver's face was pale with pain and rage. "You're dead, Morgan," Bishop snarled. "Hammond will hunt you to the ends of the earth for this." Cole knelt beside him, just out of reach. "Maybe, but you won't be there to see it." "What now?" Diana asked, joining them. "Do we kill him?" Cole considered the wounded man, weighing justice against mercy. "No, we take him to salvation. Let him stand trial for what he's done." "Trial?" Bishop laughed bitterly. "Hammond owns the law in 3 territories. You think any judge will convict me?" "Judge Wilcox arrives tomorrow," Cole replied, binding Bishop's wound roughly. "Federal judge from Boston, sent to investigate military irregularities in the territory." Fear flickered in Bishop's eyes for the first time. "You're bluffing." "Guess you'll find out," Cole said, hauling him to his feet. "Mount up. It's a long ride to salvation." They rode through the night, Bishop secured to his saddle, his wound treated just enough to keep him alive. Dawn was breaking as they crested a hill overlooking Salvation, a small cluster of buildings nestled in a valley, smoke rising from morning fires. "We made it," Diana said, relief evident in her voice. Cole's response died in his throat as he spotted riders leaving town. At least a dozen men in cavalry uniforms, led by a figure he recognized even at this distance, Colonel James Hammond, his brass buttons catching the morning light. "Not quite," Cole said grimly. "Looks like Hammond brought reinforcements." Bishop laughed weakly. "Told you, Morgan. No escape." Cole studied the terrain, considering their options. The cavalry would cut them off before they could reach town, and they were too exhausted for another firefight. "There," Diana said suddenly, pointing to a small cabin set apart from the main settlement. "Smoke from the chimney. Could be the doctor." Cole nodded. "Worth a try. Stay off the main road." They circled wide, approaching the cabin from the north while Hammond's patrol headed east, presumably following Rachel's trail. As they drew closer, Cole saw a figure on the porch, a gray-haired man in a black coat watching their approach with evident concern. "Dr. Hammond?" Cole called as they neared. "I am," the man replied, stepping forward, "and you appear to be in need of medical attention." His gaze shifted to Bishop, then to Diana. "All of you." "My sister," Diana said urgently. "Emma, did she arrive with Rachel and Lisa?" Relief washed over the doctor's face. "Yes, late last night. I've been treating her infection. They're inside, resting." As if summoned by her name, Rachel appeared in the doorway, her expression transforming from wariness to joy at the sight of Diana. The sisters embraced while Cole helped Bishop from his horse. "I need to keep this one alive, Doc," Cole explained. "He has a date with Judge Wilcox." Dr. Hammond's eyebrows rose. "I see. And my brother's involvement?" "Runs deep," Cole replied. "Bishop works for him, trafficking Apache women across the territory." The doctor's face hardened. "I've suspected as much. There have been rumors." He trailed off, then squared his shoulders. "Bring him inside. I'll tend his wounds." "But Cole," he added in a lower voice, "James won't stop. Not when his reputation is at stake." "I'm counting on it," Cole replied, his voice equally quiet. "The judge needs to see exactly who your brother is." Inside the cabin, Emma lay on a narrow bed, her color improved, breathing steadier. Lisa sat beside her, holding her hand. Their reunion with Diana was a moment of pure joy amid the darkness that had followed them. Cole secured Bishop to a chair, ignoring his threats and curses. Then he joined Rachel by the window, watching for any sign of Hammond's return. "What now?" she asked softly. "We wait," Cole replied. "The judge arrives at noon. If we can get Bishop's testimony before Hammond finds us—" Rachel nodded understanding. "A dangerous game." Cole's smile was grim. "No more dangerous than refusing an order at Fort Bowie." They prepared as best they could, tending wounds, checking weapons, planning escape routes should everything fail. Dr. Hammond proved an unexpected ally, providing not only medical care, but information about his brother's operations and the layout of salvation. As noon approached, tension mounted. Hammond's patrol had returned to town, and the doctor reported increased activity around the sheriff's office. Clearly, they were being sought. "Time to move," Cole decided. "Doc, can you get word to Judge Wilcox? Tell him we have evidence of military misconduct and human trafficking." "I can try," Dr. Hammond replied, "but the stage road will be watched." Cole considered their options. "We need a distraction." "I'll provide it," Diana volunteered, checking her rifle. "I can draw them away from the stage road." "Too risky," Cole objected. Diana's eyes flashed with determination. "My husband died because no one stood against Hammond. I will not hide while you and Rachel risk everything." After further discussion, they settled on a plan. Diana would create a distraction at the saloon on the far side of town. Dr. Hammond would intercept the judge's stagecoach before it reached Salvation. Cole and Rachel would bring Bishop to the church, where Father Miguel, another of the doctor's allies, would provide sanctuary until the judge arrived. As they prepared to separate, Rachel approached Cole, her expression solemn. "If we fail," she said quietly, "promise me you'll get my sisters to safety." Cole held her gaze. "We won't fail." They moved out as the church bell struck noon, each to their assigned task. Cole and Rachel, with Bishop between them, made their way through the scrub toward Salvation, keeping to cover whenever possible. The town seemed unusually quiet as they approached, a stillness that raised the hair on Cole's neck. "Something's wrong," he murmured, halting their progress at the edge of town. Rachel nodded, her senses equally alert. Too quiet. No workers at the livery. No women at the wash house. A single shot echoed from the far side of town. Diana's signal. Moments later, shouting erupted, followed by more gunfire. The distraction had begun. "Now!" Cole urged, pushing Bishop forward. They hurried through back alleys toward the church, a small adobe building with a modest bell tower. They had nearly reached it when a voice called out behind them. "That's far enough, Morgan." Cole turned slowly, pushing Rachel behind him. Colonel James Hammond stood 20 paces away, flanked by 4 soldiers, all with rifles aimed. "Hammond," Cole acknowledged, keeping his voice steady. "Been a while." "Not long enough, traitor," Hammond replied, his cold eyes shifting to Bishop. "I see you've been busy making new friends." Bishop struggled against his bonds. "Colonel, they ambushed us, killed all my men." Hammond's expression didn't change. "Yes, I assumed as much when you failed to report. Most unfortunate." The coldness in his voice made Bishop pale. "Sir, I can explain." "I'm sure you can," Hammond interrupted. "But explanations won't be necessary. Dead men can't testify after all." He raised his hand and his soldiers took aim. At that moment, the church door swung open behind Cole and Rachel. Father Miguel stood there, gesturing urgently. "Inside, quickly!" the priest called. Cole shoved Rachel and Bishop toward the door as the first shots rang out. Bullets splintered the wood frame as they tumbled inside, Father Miguel slamming the heavy door shut behind them. "This way!" The priest led them toward the altar, where he quickly revealed a hidden trap door. "The tunnels will lead you to safety." "Tunnels?" Cole asked, surprised. "Built during the Apache raids," Father Miguel explained, lifting the heavy door. "Ironic that they now save Apache lives." The sound of Hammond's men battering at the church door echoed through the small building. "Go!" Father Miguel urged. "I'll delay them." Cole hesitated. "They'll kill you." The priest smiled serenely. "They would not dare spill blood in God's house. Now go." Rachel descended first, followed by Bishop. Cole gave the priest a grateful nod before following them into darkness. The tunnel was narrow and low, forcing them to move in a crouch. Crude oil lamps hung at intervals, casting just enough light to navigate by. They had gone perhaps 100 yards when the sounds of pursuit reached them. Hammond's men had discovered the entrance. "Move faster," Cole urged, pushing Bishop ahead of him. They reached a junction where the tunnels split in 3 directions. Rachel looked to Cole for direction. "Which way?" she asked urgently. "Left leads to the edge of town," Father Miguel's voice called from behind them. The priest had followed them after all. "Right goes to the stagecoach station. Center continues under the main street." Cole didn't hesitate. "Right. We need to reach the judge." They turned down the right passage, moving as quickly as they could in the confined space. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder, booted feet and angry voices echoing through the stone corridors. "There's a ladder ahead," Father Miguel panted. "It leads up behind the stagecoach office." As they reached the ladder, a shot rang out in the tunnel behind them. One of Hammond's men had spotted them. Cole pushed Rachel toward the ladder. "Go! I'll hold them off!" Rachel's eyes widened. "No! We stay together." "Get Bishop to the judge," Cole insisted. "That's what matters." Before she could protest further, Cole turned and fired his revolver down the tunnel. The flash illuminated Hammond's men advancing toward them, momentarily forcing them to cover. "Go!" Cole shouted again. Rachel hesitated only a second longer before climbing the ladder, dragging Bishop with her. Father Miguel followed. Cole fired systematically, making each shot count, forcing Hammond's men to advance cautiously. When his revolver clicked empty, he scrambled up the ladder, emerging into blinding sunlight behind the stagecoach office. Rachel, Bishop, and Father Miguel were already running toward a cloud of dust in the distance, the approaching stagecoach. Cole sprinted after them, aware of shouts behind him as Hammond's men emerged from the tunnel. They reached the stagecoach just as it was pulling to a stop. Dr. Hammond stood beside it, clearly having intercepted it as planned. The door opened to reveal a distinguished older man. Judge Wilcox, Cole presumed. "What is the meaning of this?" the judge demanded, taking in the ragged group before him. "Your Honor," Dr. Hammond began, "these people have evidence of military corruption and human trafficking in the territory." At that moment, Colonel Hammond arrived with his men, all with weapons drawn. "Judge Wilcox," the colonel called, "these people are under military arrest for the murder of government contractors." "Government contractors?" Wilcox repeated skeptically, his penetrating gaze taking in the scene. "Human traffickers," Cole corrected, pushing Bishop forward. "This man works for Colonel Hammond, kidnapping Apache women to sell across the border." Hammond's face darkened with rage. "Lies! These are dangerous fugitives spreading sedition." Judge Wilcox held up his hand for silence. "I've heard enough. Colonel Hammond, lower your weapons immediately. I am conducting an official inquiry, and these people are now under federal protection." Hammond hesitated, his men looking to him for direction. For a moment it seemed he might order them to fire anyway. Then slowly he signaled them to stand down. "A wise decision, Colonel," Judge Wilcox said coldly. "Now I suggest we continue this discussion in a more appropriate venue." An hour later they gathered in the town hall, Cole, Rachel, Diana, who had rejoined them, Bishop, both Hammonds, and Judge Wilcox. The judge listened impassively as Bishop, facing the gallows and seeking leniency, detailed the entire operation. The raids disguised as military actions, the network of buyers, the profits divided among conspirators. When Rachel took her turn, describing the attack on her village and the captivity she and her sisters had endured, even the hardened townsfolk who had gathered to watch fell silent. Colonel Hammond sat rigid throughout, his face a mask of controlled fury as his empire crumbled around him. When the testimonies concluded, Judge Wilcox rendered his judgment without hesitation. "Colonel Hammond, you are hereby relieved of command and remanded to federal custody to await trial for crimes including human trafficking, murder, and abuse of military authority." As Hammond was led away, his cold eyes found Cole's across the room. "This isn't over, Morgan," he hissed. Cole held his gaze steadily. "Yes, it is." 1 week later, Cole Morgan stood on the porch of Dr. Hammond's cabin, watching Emma take careful steps in the yard, supported by her sisters. Her recovery had been remarkable once proper medicine was administered, a testament to both the doctor's skill and her own resilience. The territorial governor had arrived the previous day, alerted by Judge Wilcox to the situation in Salvation. After lengthy discussions with Cole and Dr. Hammond, he had made an unprecedented decision. "The governor offered me a position," Cole told Rachel as she joined him on the porch. "Special Marshal for the Northern Territories." "And you accepted?" she asked, studying his face. Cole nodded. "With conditions. I want to establish a base near the Apache settlements. Provide real protection, not just for settlers." "Bold term," Rachel observed. "I asked for more," Cole continued. "An integrated force. Settlers and Apache working together to patrol the territories." Rachel's eyebrows rose. The governor agreed to this? After what happened with Hammond, he's eager to show goodwill toward the tribes. Cole turned to face her directly. "I need deputies who understand both worlds, Rachel. People the Apache will trust." Understanding dawned in her eyes. "You want us to join you?" "If you're willing," Cole replied. "Diana's skills as a tracker and marksman would be invaluable. Lisa's knowledge of medicine and herbs could save many lives. And you," he paused, something unspoken passing between them. "And me?" Rachel prompted softly. "You bridge two worlds, educated at the mission school, but loyal to your people. That's exactly what's needed if there's ever to be peace in these territories." Rachel considered his words, her gaze drifting to her sisters in the yard below. "We were planning to leave tomorrow. There's a small valley near Black Mountain where some of our people have established a new settlement." "I know it," Cole said. "Good water, defensible position. 4 days ride north." A smile touched Rachel's lips, the first genuine smile Cole had seen from her. "I believe they could use a marshal's protection, and perhaps—" She hesitated. Perhaps it is time for our people to build bridges rather than walls. The following morning, 5 riders departed Dr. Hammond's cabin: Cole, Rachel, Diana, Lisa, and Emma, heading north toward the Black Mountain settlement. They rode not as fugitives, but as architects of a new order, where justice might finally extend to all people of the territory. As they crested the first hill, Cole turned in his saddle for one last look at salvation. The town gleamed in the morning light, transformed by recent events. Perhaps its name would finally hold meaning. Second chances are rare in this land, Rachel observed, riding alongside him. Cole nodded, his gaze shifting to the horizon ahead. So we make the most of this one. Together they rode toward a future none of them could have imagined days earlier. The reckoning behind them, the trail of redemption stretching out before them into the promise of a new dawn.